Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most respected and influential figures in American history. He is remembered not only as a leader of the civil rights movement, but also as a moral voice who challenged the United States to live up to its own ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. His life was not long, but his impact was profound, and his dream continues to shape America and the world today. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. He grew up in a deeply religious African-American family. His father, Martin Luther King Sr., was a Baptist minister, and his mother, Alberta Williams King, was a schoolteacher. The church played a central role in King's life from an early age, shaping his values, discipline, and sense of responsibility. As a child, King was intelligent and curious, but he also experienced racism firsthand. He once described how, at the age of 6, a white friend was no longer allowed to play with him because their parents believed they should not associate across racial lines. This experience left a deep emotional mark and helped him understand the injustice of segregation. King was an excellent student. He skipped grades in school and entered Morehouse College at just 15 years old. At first, he was unsure whether he wanted to become a minister like his father, but over time he felt a strong calling to serve both God and society. After graduating from Morehouse, he attended Crozer Theological Seminary and later earned a doctorate in systematic theology from Boston University. While studying theology, King became deeply influenced by the teachings of Jesus Christ and the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi. From Gandhi, he learned the power of nonviolent resistance, the idea that peaceful protest could challenge injustice more effectively than violence. King believed that nonviolence was not a sign of weakness, but a form of moral strength. He taught that love could transform enemies into allies, and that hatred only created more hatred. This philosophy became the foundation of his leadership in the civil rights movement. King's rise to national prominence began in 1955 in Montgomery, Alabama. At the time, segregation laws required African Americans to give up their seats on public buses to white passengers. When Rosa Parks, an African American woman, refused to give up her seat, she was arrested. In response, African American leaders organized the Montgomery Bus Boycott, encouraging black residents to stop using public buses. King, who was just 26 years old and a relatively new pastor in Montgomery, was chosen to lead the movement. The boycott lasted 381 days. During this time, King faced constant threats. His home was bombed, and he was arrested, but he refused to give up. The protesters remained disciplined and nonviolent, walking miles to work and organizing carpools. Eventually, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional. This victory proved that peaceful protest could bring real change and made King a national leader. After the success in Montgomery, King helped establish the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, ORSCLC. The organization aimed to coordinate nonviolent protests across the South to challenge segregation and discrimination. Throughout the late 1950s and 1960s, King traveled constantly, organizing marches, delivering speeches, and inspiring people to stand up for their rights. He believed that injustice anywhere was a threat to justice everywhere. One of the most important campaigns took place in Birmingham, Alabama, in 1963. Birmingham was known for its strict segregation laws and violent opposition to civil rights. King and other leaders organized protests, including marches led by children and teenagers. The response was brutal. Police used dogs, fire hoses, and mass arrests to suppress the demonstrations. Images of peaceful protesters being attacked shocked the nation and the world. These events forced many Americans to confront the reality of racism and helped build support for civil rights legislation. While imprisoned in Birmingham, King wrote his famous letter from Birmingham jail. In it, he defended civil disobedience and argued that waiting for justice was the same as denying it. The letter is now considered one of the most important political writings in American history. Perhaps the most iconic moment of King's life came on August 28, 1963. During the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, more than 250,000 people gathered in front of the Lincoln Memorial to demand civil and economic rights for African Americans. Standing before the crowd, King delivered his legendary "I Have a Dream" speech. In it, he spoke of a future where people would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. He described a nation where freedom and equality would finally become reality for all citizens. The speech was powerful not only because of its message, but because of its hope. King did not speak with anger or bitterness. Instead, he appealed to America's conscience and ideals. His words inspired millions and remain among the most quoted speeches in history. The pressure created by the civil rights movement led to major legal changes. In 1964, the U.S. government passed the Civil Rights Act, which outlawed segregation in public places and discrimination in employment. The following year, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed, protecting African Americans' right to vote. These laws represented significant victories, and King played a central role in making them possible. In 1964, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his commitment to nonviolent social change. At just 35 years old, he was the youngest person to receive the award at that time. Despite these successes, King believed that America still had far to go. He became increasingly concerned with economic inequality, poverty, and the Vietnam War. He argued that racism, poverty, and militarism were interconnected problems that required moral courage to confront. King's opposition to the Vietnam War was controversial, even among his allies. Many believed he should focus only on civil rights. But King felt morally obligated to speak out against violence and injustice wherever they existed. In 1968, he began organizing the Poor People's Campaign, which aimed to address economic inequality across racial lines. His vision expanded beyond civil rights to include human rights for all people. On April 4, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, where he had gone to support striking sanitation workers. His death shocked the nation and led to widespread grief and unrest. Although his life was cut short at the age of 39, King's legacy endures. He changed the laws of the United States, but more importantly, he changed its moral direction. His commitment to nonviolence, justice, and love continues to inspire movements for equality around the world. Today, Martin Luther King Jr. is honored with a national holiday in the United States. Streets, schools, and monuments bear his name. But perhaps his greatest legacy is his dream, a vision of a world where dignity, equality, and compassion guide human actions. Martin Luther King Jr. taught us that progress is possible when ordinary people find the courage to stand up for what is right. His life reminds us that one voice, guided by faith and love, can change the course of history.